was Shinedown guys. I go, well, what happened? He's like, they've been fist fighting all fucking night. I've had to break up fucking fights, man.
All right, before we begin the show, let's thank our sponsors. First and foremost, our title sponsor, Once Upon a Coconut. All natural, non-GMO coconut water with natural electrolytes and no added sugar. You can choose from pure blueberry, pineapple, watermelon, sparkling energy, and chocolate flavors with Once Upon a Coconut. Stay hydrated and refreshed. And if you're wondering why it tastes so darn good, it's due to a combination of factors, including the freshness and sweetness of young coconut water, the lack of additives, and the natural electrolytes present. And the best part about it, Once Upon a Coconut, 10% of profits go to charity that benefit our communities, including the Down Syndrome Foundation, Breast Cancer Foundation, Leukemia Society. Good things, good people, great product. So you can grab it at some Sprouts. You can grab it on Amazon. You can go online to find a store near you or purchase it right there off of their website, onceuponacoconut.com. It is delish. Big thanks to Inspect All Pest Services, our buddy Nick and the crew over at Inspect All Pest Services, providing the highest quality termite, pest, and wildlife control. That's not all they do. Inspect All can take care of your insulation, pressure washing, gutter maintenance, and other home services in Metro Atlanta and the surrounding areas. Remember, seasonal, you get different bugs and critters all around your house, so you want to go with the best in the business, and that would be one of our fine sponsors from day one, InspectAllServices.com. It's the Mad Dog, Manny Aurora, with the Aurora Law Firm, best darn defense attorney in the world, litigating all over the United States, based out of Georgia. We're talking criminal defense, white-collar crime, DUI, drug offenses, appeals, and more. And you can always get your legal questions answered by the Mad Dog, Manny Aurora, by getting those to me. And when he pops up on a show, you get your questions answered. So go to thebaileyshow.com and we'll get those questions to the Mad Dog. The Aurora Law Firm.com. He is the best in the business when it comes to therapists. There's no doubt about that. I use them, and so should you. We're talking about Dr. David Markwell with Ridgeline Counseling. He's got 10 therapists in-house, 3 different locations there in Georgia, one across from Sprayberry High School in Sandy Plains in East Cobb, Marietta near the Square in McKaysville, just outside of Blue Ridge. But if you're not in Georgia and you need to talk to the good doctor, then you can go online and get virtual sessions. Ridgeline Counseling at gmail.com if you'd like to email him directly, or go online to markwelltherapy.com. There is no better time to check if your insurance is any good. That's why FBC Insurance is waiting for you to reach out. You can call them at 888-308-1841 or email them info@fbcinsuranceservices.com. I just switched up my car insurance because I got a better deal at FBC Insurance. They were the people to find it. Perfect for new homeowners, especially if you're trying to reshop those current insurance policies. 5-star service, multi-policy, bundled discounts, and they're going to shop every carrier out there to find the best insurance for your house, flood, storm season, auto, motorcycle, boat, recreational vehicle, or just a personal policy. 888-308-1841 or go online, FBCInsuranceServices.com. Another one of our great sponsors in storm season. You have to talk to the good people at Alternate Power Solutions of Georgia. Family owned and operated. They are a Generac generator dealer, founded in 2012. So storm season, power goes out. Who knows when it's coming back on? Don't be that guy or girl that does not have a backup plan and having power for whatever it be, especially medical devices, fans, air conditioning, so on and so forth. Offering sales, service, installation, and repair of automatic home standby and portable generators, every single one of you. When you become a customer at Alternate Power Solutions of Georgia, you get an upgraded warranty, free monitoring, and warranty repair. A+ rating with the BB&B, and you pay nothing until the job is complete. Call or request a free home assessment. You can go to their website, poweringgeorgia.com, or buzz them at 770-853-7571. Use the discount code Bailey, my last name, and get $500 off your entire installation. All right? Servicing Georgia and Tennessee. Again, another great sponsor of the BS podcast that is going to come to your aid here during storm season. And I'm talking about Cliff Bratcher and Jayco Contracting. This one hits home for me because I needed advice from Cliff and Jayco Contracting when my mother got a hole in her roof. Now, Jayco Contracting helping the good folks out in Georgia. And if you're in Georgia, you call him this storm season just to know that you're going to be taken care of when that tree falls through your roof or your shingles come off or a hole somehow appears. years, right? They are a platinum preferred contractor with Owens Corning, licensed and insured roofing and gutter specialists covering all of Georgia. Keep in mind, if you've not gone through this process, Cliff and Jayco Contracting are going to take care of it from start to finish. That means dealing with the insurance companies. That can be a headache and a negotiation, and they're the best to do it. Commercial and residential satisfaction guaranteed. JaycoContracting.com, or 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. You give Cliff Bratcher a call at 770-316-3876. Alive Ozone Therapy Spa in Altamont Springs, Florida. This is mine and my wife's wellness spa. If you have an autoimmune, cancer, HIV, just simple biohacking, long COVID, the answer is yes to just about anything that's going on in your body. Most of the time it starts with inflammation, and ozone therapy, it decreases inflammation. So ozone therapy, we are the first and only to do it in Central Florida. That is Alive Ozone Therapy Spa. We also offer red light therapy, halo therapy, pressotherapy, PMF grounding mat, as well as naturally in-house made ozone infused products like the magnesium butter that many of you absolutely love. Ozone therapy, what is it? Quickly, it repairs and rejuvenates your cells to the mitochondrial level by using activated oxygen. Simple as that. No side effects. That's all there is to it. It's a 30-minute session, and you actually burn up to 600 calories when you're in the Hocket sauna. We do it the most non-invasive way. So whether you're in the area or you want to travel, book an appointment, AliveOzoneTherapySpa.com. All the products you can get there as well. And remember, for you two peers, use the discount code BS10 to take that off those online products. If you want to be a sponsor of the show, reach out to me via thebaileyshow.com. And if you are a listener of this podcast and you need any of our great sponsors, please reach out to them. Now, let's begin.
I think we should do a podcast about rock and roll. And that's what stories.
Yeah, let's do it. Welcome to the Vinyl Road Podcast.
There it is, episode 5 of the Vinyl Road Podcast. My name is Jason Bailey. Thanks for being here. There he is, Mr. Brad Stewart. How you doing, buddy?
How about you? I'm good, man.
We're at episode 5, and we've already had your fans create a fan page for the Vinyl Road Podcast, which is always cool when that happens. So
the Vinyl Roadies.
The Vinyl Roadies.
Aptly titled The Vinyl Roadies. It's pretty clever, right?
I think it's great. So for the BS podcast, I call my listeners two peers, and we've had this private Facebook group for years. Where you just have to get approval to get in. And then when I saw this pop up, I think Ashley had designed it, right? And when I saw this pop up, which is a Brad Stewart fan, and I, now she's listening, and so then she messages me and she's like, "Is this okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, like more than okay. Thank you so much for doing that. I appreciate it. That's pretty cool." So
it is cool. I mean, to have fans and friends that care that much to spend their time creating these things for us and for the show. I mean, yeah, that's good stuff, man. I mean, and it's just going to grow from here. So, I mean, it's fun. It's good stuff.
Watch out, world. The Vinyl Road Podcast is about to take over.
We're taking over. It's happening. Watch out, Joe Rogan.
Watch out. Watch out, Theo. Watch out, guys. We're coming after you.
Yeah, man. It's happening.
All right. So, we promised with this podcast, which is about rock and roll stories from the road, obviously Brad's stories, life and everything in between, that we'd have guests on. So this is kind of monumental for the podcast. We have our very first guest, which is an old friend of yours. I believe that we might have met in the 2002, I want to say.
That'd be about right. 2002 or 3, I would imagine, would be somewhere in there. Yeah.
I mean, and I don't remember what tour it was, but I was at JRR at the time and so forth. Anyway, lead singer of the band Earshot'S. Let's welcome to the Vinyl Road Podcast, Wil Martin, ladies and gentlemen. Wil Martin, you get an applause there, Will.
There he is. There he is. Hey.
Thank you. Hey guys, how you doing?
Good. So who would you have been out on the road with in 2002? Just so I can, now that I'm 50, my memory is going, by the way.
That makes 2 of us. I don't know, probably fucking Brad. I don't know. We literally, I think we've been out and played with just about every band. Literally, I mean, in some capacity, whether it was we were on tour with them or it could have been a festival.
Yeah.
A Festivus
No,
for the rest of us. Yeah.
You know what's funny is if you look at bands like from the 80s, you know, that glam rock era, that and I loved, you know, like Poison's my favorite band, right? So I loved that era. And it was always big arenas with, you know, the curtain jerking band. Like I saw Soundgarden open up for GNR in Fort Myers. And they got
wow.
booed off the stage, by the way.
No fucking way. Soundgarden did?
Soundgarden did.
Man, that's some
Wow.
bullshit. By the way, check. This is my Sub Pop purchase. I went, you know, there's the Sub Pop right there in the Seattle airport. So, you know, I had to get in there and get something, man. Of course, I got the Soundgarden shirt.
I didn't even.
Wow, dude, that's mind blowing. They got booed. Wow.
I
No,
didn't
what
even
the
do that.
fuck?
I didn't even know you had Soundgarden on, and I'm telling that story.
Well, that is uncanny, actually.
So my point is like, you know, you would have the big arena shows and not a lot of small venues, but you know, in the early 2000s and that run, because of, you know, I'm looking at it from the radio side of things, that active rock run. And there's all these great bands from the early 2000s, obviously Earshot, Shinedown, Fuel, Saliva, all these bands that are going out on the road. But the places that you guys were playing were like House of Blues and Hard Rock before you got to those festivals. Was that like that across the country for both you guys?
Yeah, I don't know you, Brad, but I mean, our very first tour was with Hoobastank when they were coming out with their first single, and we were playing like little small bars, like maybe 200 or 300 cap venues, and we just, you know, it was a gradual elevation from there. You know, the it seemed like the more popular the song got at radio, the bigger, nicer places we started playing and
Sure.
cooler bands we got to play with. Not that Hoobastank wasn't cool. Love those guys. Awesome guys. But
they're good dudes. They are. I've toured with them too. They're awesome.
Yeah. Awesome guys. Great band. And so yeah, that's kind of what it was for us, Brad. I don't know what it was like for you, but that was kind of for us what it was.
Well, we did some one-off stuff in the very beginning, and then our very first tour was with Powerman 5000. And we were doing, I mean, Powerman had a following. I mean, they'd come out with a new record, and they'd gone away for a minute there, and they had taken off the spacesuits, right? And the tour was during the summer, and they were like, thank God we're not wearing these fucking suits, because some of the venues were really hot in there. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And so they had taken the suits off, and I'll never forget the first day. Our fucking bus driver, this old guy, sweetheart, his name was Don. He old guy, but awesome dude. He could not back the bus in for shit. You know, he could drive it going forward. But so first day, Spider and them, they got the bus all parked up nice. I think we were in Dayton, Ohio or something. It was first day. And he literally backed into their fucking bus. And we were like, you gotta be kidding me. First day, here we go. Banging him up, dude. Way to go, bro. You know,
shine down in the Powerman.
We're here. Thanks. Yeah, we'll be here. So that was about a month. And I want to say most of the spots were somewhere between, I'd say, you know, 700 to 1,200 cap rooms. It was Reach 242, we, and then us, and then Powerman. Do you remember Reach? Do you know Renee? Do you remember Renee, Will? Anyway, so that was his band. So yeah, it was good, man. And then after that, I want to say literally, we jumped on the road with Three Doors Down and became the perpetual opener for Three Doors for the next like 7-8 months or something, you know. And that varied from us being first of four with like Seether and Our Lady Peace and Three Doors, but they gave us 30 minutes, man. And that's really when we became a band, I felt like, because we didn't do a whole lot of shows.
That's when you guys switched from the House of Blues to the Hard Rock, because your first run in Shinedown was House of Blues, because that's when I was backstage and I saw Brent going upstairs and I said, hey, you ever heard of this concert called Earth Day Birthday? He's like, no, man, what's that? And I said, I'll get you on it. Like I had pull. Anyway, I got him on it, you know, and like you guys kind of curtain jerked. I remember Chevelle curtain jerked. Earshot played Earth Day Birthday, right, Will?
Yeah, we did that. We did that Earth Day. I remember that distinctly, the name of that festival.
Yeah.
But I remember getting a phone call from my manager at the time, which I think was Shinedown's manager too at the time, Bill
Oh, yeah.
McGathy.
Oh yeah.
And we had I think it was our second record when two came out. And I get a call from Bill McGathy. He's like, "Hey kid, I need a favor. I need to take a band out for a couple of weeks." And I went, "All right, cool." And he goes, "You remember Brad?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah." And when it was Shinedown. So I remember I think the first show was like a festival. And I remember our day-to-day manager, Corey, had flown out. And Corey would always hang out with us. I mean, I loved it when Corey came out because we would sit around and drink and smoke cigarettes and talk shit. But on this day, I hardly saw him at all. And I was thinking, fuck, man, where did he go? And so he turns up like 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and he looks completely disheveled and exhausted and just like hair all fucking crazy mess. I'm like, "Dude, I thought you left." He's like, "Oh, man." He's like, "Those Shinedown guys." I go, "Well, what happened?" He's like, "They've been fist fighting all fucking night. I've had to break up fucking fights, man. Those guys I don't know how long these guys are gonna fucking be sticking around. They're gonna kill each other."
Yeah, dude.
I
We were
remember
pretty
that. I
intense.
remember that.
Poor
Yeah, man, you
Corey,
guys
dude.
were.
Poor Corey. You know, it's funny because management, they actually gave us Corey and Guy there, G-Man, Boltman. We
Man,
had two
you guys
guys.
took
we,
two.
we were a fucking handful, dude. We probably drove them fucking nuts, dude. But yeah, we just get pissed and like, I don't know. And poor Corey's in the middle of it. He's like, "Oh God, no more whiskey, guys."
Yeah, yeah, Corey.
It's funny
Good
when
old
you
Corey.
It's funny when you look back now. I mean, just anything, whether you're a musician or whatever it is that you do, and you just kind of look back and you cherish those moments, but
Mhm.
you probably wouldn't want to relive any of them at this age. You'd want to relive them maybe at that age, but you wouldn't want to relive them at this age, and then you kind of look back at the success of, whether it's Earshot or Shinedown and Fuel and Saliva and all the stuff Brad's been a part of. And then you see like, okay, here's where I'm at now. Are you at like
Yeah.
crossroads? Because I know you just released some new music after a long time, a kind of a long hiatus. But are you at like a crossroads where you're like, do I stick with that sound that I built Earshot on, or do I try to, jump on board with what is trending now and what works to a younger generation's ears?
It's a good question. I'm not really sure what our sound is. I think through the course of our records, we've kind of jumped around a little bit stylistically, although we've been faithful to the heavy melodic, part of it. But I don't know. I think it's hard, at least for me, it's hard to create music with trends and be authentic at the same time. So, I mean, we write what we write, or I write what I write, and I just, once I finish it, I hope the world loves it as much as we do, and that's really as much as you can do or expect, to be quite honest with you. So, to answer your question, in the famous words of Rick Rubin, the audience sort of comes last in my creative process.
I've heard that saying before. I've heard that saying.
Interesting.
Is it a challenge every time you write, because you've never stopped writing? Earshot might have taken a hiatus, but you've always been a songwriter from what I understand. And to go to that early success of, Get Away or Wait, and, especially the intro to Get Away, I mean, that's,
Mm.
iconic for the early 2000s songs, right? There's certain songs, you're the beginning of Lit, and you're like Lit, so, and you guys
Right.
stand out. Is it a challenge when you're writing music going, I need to have that first 3 seconds of riff or whatever to pull them in? Because, now that's what they
Yeah.
say. You need 3 to 5 seconds to grab people's attention or you're done.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that statistic, but it probably makes a lot of sense given, where we're at in this day and age, and attention spans are literally the size of gnats. Um, Again, like when we wrote those songs, I don't even think we knew, talking about Wait and Get Away and Not Afraid and Headstrong, like we didn't really know. We write things that we love and that we like. And again, like it literally, we just hope that people find it and connect with it in the same way that we did. And we just, the chips kind of fall where they may. I mean, we have our ideas like after we finished them. And I think what we're really saying is this is, my favorite song that we did out of this batch, or these are my favorite songs out of this batch. And we're where we write and picking our favorite songs that would connect. I guess I've been right a few times, but again, we didn't know that when we wrote it. And it's not like we sat down and said, oh, we're gonna write this song like this is gonna do that. We did that a little bit. We got lost in that, at least I did on the second record, trying to write every fucking song to be a radio single. And that's why that record took forever. But that record taught me a lot of lessons about just there it is, letting the
I actually have
song
2.
be.
Send me one.
Wow, you know what? I need one because I don't have fucking any copies.
Yeah, man. I
I
was
where they
looking.
are.
I don't have the first one. I don't know what happened to it, man. But if I can say some, I mean, for me, when I hear Earshot and where the first single y'all just recently put out, Where Were You?
Yeah.
It comes in and especially when you start singing, I know it's you, and I think that's what people are looking for when they're signing artists. I think they want a recognizable voice. They want something that stands out. And I think when I hear your voice, or I hear Scooter from Cold, or I hear, of course, Fred Durst or whoever, like, it's them. And I think that in and of itself has originality to it. So, trying to then make a song, like you said, by following trends. I mean, you already in your own lane, just be you kind of thing. And I think that you do that well in your music, man. I don't, it doesn't feel contrived. It feels like what you're writing, you're like lyrically and your delivery of the vocal is it feels sincere, and it feels, it feels like you're coming from your guts. And I think that's another thing too. You got to sing from the guts, man. And sometimes you scream, some of those screams, like, good Lord, man, you got some air down there, bro. Like,
Yeah.
shit, man, that's just going for it,
And as we know, the same thing goes for live. You got to look pissed off.
Oh, you got to tell him. You got to tell him that.
We'll save it. We might not ever play a festival again if we do.
All right, I'll tell him. So okay,
Tell me.
So back in the day, right? Of course, you know who Danny Wimmer is, and we love Danny. Danny Wimmer Presents, arguably the biggest, concert promoter in the world right now. But back in the day, he was an A&R. Well, at one point he was an A&R person for Fred's label, Flawless, and he had some interesting input on how band members should sort of look and dress and act. And one of them, he said that, you're the bass player, man. You got to walk around. You got to be pissed off, like all mad and shit. And when you hold your bass, you got to fucking slay it down. And all this. And I was like, I do. Okay, now I fucking just got here. Like, we just landed. You took us straight to the fucking rehearsal studio. And then he'd tell us that we're on the West Coast now, man. It's Pumas and Dickies or Pumas and Adidas or some shit, right? And we were like, again, we just landed. Fucking, we can go by the mall, pick up some Dickies and some different shoes. But, and Will can attest to those, because we still kind of chuckle about these sorts of things.
A lot of rules
being on the
the little tips, right? And and that's been the interesting thing. I've said this to Brad before. Like, it's amazing to me. Like, I remember, because at the time we were shopping for a label deal, and Fred and Danny were trying to sign us to their label at the time. And so I, hung out with Fred and Danny a couple of times, just hanging out, talking, shooting the shit, kind of, to see if we could make something work. And I remember I got a call from Danny saying, hey, I just signed this kid, and he's from where you're from. He's from Kansas City. I want you to meet him. Maybe you can hang out with him and show him around. And so it was Wes from Puddle of Mud. And then, so they were rehearsing down the street. They were trying to, fill the band out at the time, and that's when I met Brad. Was in that studio over at Cole Rehearsal,
Yes,
which is
yes.
sadly gone now.
Oh, is it?
Um,
Oh man.
it's been gone for a while, but which I have a great story about Cole Rehearsal that I'll share with you after. But that's where I first met Brad, and I remember even, you know, Danny calling me, or maybe it was Wes, I can't remember, and said, "Hey man, you got to come down and check out the song we just wrote," and it was Control. And I remember that, and then I also remember like it almost like no time had passed between that time and then like later that year. I don't know what had happened. Brad was out of the band and we were playing in Jacksonville. I think it was a festival.
Hmm.
Corey called me and he was like, "Hey, do you remember Brad?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." And so I remember Brad came to the bus. He had a buddy with him and brought him on the bus. We were hanging out, and we sat down the front lounge, and me and Brad are talking, and the guy that he's with is just like looking around the bus in awe. Says to Brad, he's like, "Man, one day, maybe we'll get to be in a bus like this." And as it turns out, that was Brent Smith.
I
That
was
was
gonna say that had to have been
just
Brent. Yeah.
they just formed Shinedown, and they were just in the process of writing. So, and then here's Brad now. So Brad is like, I wish Brad would come into my band for like a year, because he seems to like bring the luck
Good
with him
job.
wherever he goes. Good
Yeah.
on you. Good on you.
I'm down. Let's go. Let's do something.
Well, is it
No,
is it
it's
Brad
funny.
that you bring the luck when you get into the band, or do you give them luck when you leave the band?
That I think the latter there would be the case, because I joined, we start Shinedown and shit, man. I'm out of there. Next thing you know, they're flying in planes and playing arenas as the headliner. I joined Fuel, and Hemorrhage is long since gone, and and then here anyway. Yeah, dude, I don't know.
It's
Fuck, man.
funny. We were talking about Cornell and Soundgarden earlier. I saw a clip from Stern when Cornell was performing, and he was doing "Thank You" by Zeppelin. And Will, this is a little unknown fact that Brent Smith of Shinedown has only performed that song twice at two different weddings, and will never perform it ever again. That was at Brad's, and it was at my first one. And I always say that I've got it somewhere on DVD. If I completely go broke, I'm going to find a way to sell it. Because
It's interesting because that you mentioned that, because last night I was playing around with some new mics and a camera, and I changed the strings on my acoustic, and I did a piece of it, version of "Thank You." I
No
just
shit.
posted last night. So it's so crazy that you
Dude.
just mentioned that song. And you're wearing a Soundgarden t-shirt, Brad.
Man,
All
I
of
tell you
this
what,
is strange.
I think the universe
I'm
is.
I'm about to come on this show more often. I mean, look
Hey
at
man,
this.
you're
This
always
is
welcome,
crazy.
brother. You popped our cherry. You're our first guest.
yeah.
Oh, thank you.
You're the first guest.
Well, I'm
of
glad.
episodes.
We don't have a hymen now. Thank you. No.
I love popping cherries.
I knew
I
you
mean,
did.
like,
Well, yeah.
And we appreciate that. Hey, Will,
Oh my God.
when did you know when Getaway became like the big radio hit, right? When did you know that there was success with Earshot? You're like, "Oh my God, this is what we've been waiting for." Because I mean, you've been doing this for a minute prior, so then that hits, and you go, "This is all I had to do." Fuck. I mean, I wish I would have known this, 5 years ago.
yeah, no, we knew when we started out from our first tour with Hooba Snake, playing, clubs, dirty, dingy clubs, but the fans were great. Of 200 people, and nobody knew who the fuck we were. They're just looking at us like, who is this band? What are they doing? When we started playing a little bit bigger places and people were singing the chorus louder than I could sing it, that's when I knew, like, oh shit, like something's happening here. Or when I would walk in to a radio station to do an interview and I would hear it playing in the speakers in the front office, like, holy crap, like this is really happening. And it just sort of becomes surreal. Like it's like almost like an out of body experience. Like you're no longer like I no longer felt like the creator of the song. Like I was just the vehicle for this thing. I don't know if it's kind of a weird phenomenon for me. Brad, I don't know how it was for you, but that's how it felt for me.
I agree. You record and you create and you make as many songs and you make them as good as you can, and then finally you're like, wow, people are gonna start listening to this and hopefully, like you said, connect to it. And but when you go across the country and you're meeting people you never met before at radio stations and and at the shows, and they know the words and they know everyone's name in the band, especially the diehards, um, that's something that I don't know how to describe that feeling, because it's pretty amazing to connect with people on that
Yeah.
level. And like he said, as the singer and the lyricist, to connect with his lyrics. I mean, it was one thing to write music, but to actually have somebody internalize what you wrote down, as far as the words go, and relate to it, and hopefully they healed from it, or they had some sort of catharsis, or whatever they're able to do as a result, and they make that a part of their lives, and you become a part of these people's lives, man. And it's really a special thing to be able to do that, have that kind of effect on people,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
and that's what you do it. That's what I mean. That's the a big payoff of it, and then of course actually performing it for them too.
Yeah, but don't you get
Is
a
big
little
payoff.
pissed off over the years? I know, when you have fans at some point and you're at the height of your whatever, been there, done that, and then you progress and you do something different and they're not there anymore. It pisses me off. It's like, I'm never not going to like pizza. I'm never not going to like steak. I would never leave steak and pizza behind. You know what I mean? So is there
Yeah.
that type of animosity as a musician, both you guys, where you're like, dude, this song is, especially if you fall in love with the song that you wrote and for some reason doesn't get the traction with the audience?
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird science. It's I think if somebody knew exactly upon hearing a song, like exactly how successful it would be, they would probably be multimillionaires. And maybe that's why there are a handful of people in the music business that are good at that. But I mean, it's not me. I feel like I can hear a good song when I hear one, but I'm I'm not always 100%, the predictor as to how much success it'll have. And as far as, fans, I think, especially in today's day and age, there's so much music coming at everybody every single day. It's hard for them to find the music
Yeah.
that they actually want to listen to. So the trick is to find a way to break through that noise. And it's not just even independent artists. Labels struggle with the same thing of trying to figure out ways to find their fans again. It's shocking to me, like we've done some shows where that have been some clunkers where turnouts weren't so great, and literally 3 days after we get home we get messages like, wish you guys would play here. And it's like, we just played there, like where were
Oh,
like, and
that's
they
aggravating,
had
man.
and they had
Yeah.
no idea. So and we promote and we post things just like everybody else does, but for some reason unbeknownst to me, like some people find it, some people don't. And so therein lies the challenge, I think, of every artist, which is trying to find and connect with your fan, to let them know that you're putting out music and you're doing tours. And I think the best way to do that now is being on the road and touring. I think that's the best way to get to people. But then, you know, getting the message out that you're coming there, I think, is the other trick. So it's,
Mhm.
it's
and,
it's
and
it's that's
some
the
of
biggest challenge.
some of that, I mean, a lot of that falls onto the promoter. I mean, I don't ask the promoter to get up there and play the bass, right? So the
Mhm.
promoter, though, asking me to promote his show for him, yes, I mean, of course, the band's going to promote as much as possible, but again, I don't ask him to get up there and do my job for me. I mean, as a promoter, there should be a budget in place, and they need to get it done, honestly. But I mean, of course, there is competition too. Like everybody, now that royalties are sort of not what they used to be, and there's streaming platforms and you're not getting paid for, as much as you would have been had that not been something that got traction and eventually took over the business. um the live show is very important. But now everybody is out to, and because and you're seeing bands get back together that you never. I mean, even Creed got back together. I mean that I thought that was special because I know that what went on. I know those guys, and so. But now they're out, they're killing it. And good for them. But like so is every other band. So if they're in town though, and they're playing the big room, we might be in there, playing the smaller room, and it's just there's only so many days in a week and so many ways to book a tour and the routing and you're gonna run into that, and it's not. I don't think it's due to lack of interest. I just think things sort of either they don't get the message, like Will said, or they there may be some competition or and also people if they're struggling in some of these places, they may not be able to go to the show, and that's why these festivals I think are important. They'd rather fly across the country to a festival and see every band they love and they get it out of their system, I think, maybe, right? Because now they get a lot of bang for their buck, and they're not going just as individuals see these guys play. They have 4 days of it, and it's like they get their fix kind of thing.
Right. But those festivals are getting so expensive now. Like they keep getting higher and higher, and the feedback that I'm getting from fans is it's just becoming so exorbitant. Like it's creeping up in the $500-$600 range. That's just for the ticket.
Yeah.
But I think finances plays a big part of it too. I mean, there's a lot of economical pain out there as well. And to your point, Brad, with the promoters, like I think a lot of promoters have this idea that, oh, it's a big band. If I just put it up there, people will come flocking in. And I'm just going to make all this money. I'm going to be just stacking. And it's like, it doesn't work this way. Like that's, at least in the rock world, maybe it works like that in other genres. I don't know. But I mean, unless you're Metallica, nobody's flocking on their own to find you. It's not happening.
What do you promoter be like? Well, I put it on Facebook, man.
Right,
like that's it. That's your idea of fucking promoting your show is putting it on Facebook. I mean, come on. I mean, that's And when they rely on that, and then like, well, the band never even promoted it on their page, and I'm like, but I don't know why it's a Southern person. I just felt like doing an accent.
I was going to say, it's the best part of this whole story is your impersonation of promoters.
Well,
everywhere.
It's just kind of like the Yahoo yeehaw kind of thing with some of these folks, man. That they just expect people just to turn up, whether they put the money into it or not. And I just felt like doing some impersonation.
What would be promoting 101 in 2025 for a Saliva show or an Earshot show? If I were the promoter, what would you want me to do?
One of the things, Brad, I think you probably remember this. You guys probably worked like this when you guys came out as well. But the one thing that I see absent is the community in a lot of local places has kind of been lost. Like I remember, especially here in LA, even there would be kids outside of a venue of another show handing out flyers for a band coming in a week or two from now, right? And there were so many times that I personally got alerted to shows that I didn't know about. And so I think the human connection is what's missing here. Like I go to venues a lot of times when we do these shows, particularly these fly dates, and I might see one poster like in the corner somewhere, and that's really it. Like I don't see any flyers. I don't see, and I know they're not spending money on radio promotion because they're, a lot of times they don't have the budget for it.
Right.
So that's one of the things. Like I know I did some work for Live Nation for some years, and I know I'm like on those bigger shows, the arena shows and amphitheater shows, like that's one of the first things a tour manager comes in and demands of the promoter, like, I want to see what money you spent promoting this show.
Yep.
And it's in the tens of thousands of dollars. And this is like, I remember one time I looked into a show. It was a Shinedown show, actually. I just was curious. I wanted to see. And it was in Houston, which is arguably one of Shinedown's probably biggest markets. I mean, they're on the radio constantly there.
Yeah.
And they sell out almost every time they play there. they still spend like 20 some $1,000 in advertising. Like, and that's for a band that already is well known. So it just goes to show you what it taught me is that it doesn't matter how big you are, you still have to, as I said earlier, you have to figure out how to connect with people to let them know that you're coming to their city. You can't just stick one single, poster in the window and call it a day and expect, to be a great turnout. It just doesn't work that way. So unfortunately, when you put the onus on the band or artist only, you're only going to get so much. Like I can't talk to your people in whatever city, Georgia, right? We don't live there. We're not from there.
Right.
If I did, I would connect with them myself. And I think that's where, promoters can sort of would pick up the slack if they wanted to really be promoters. But I think, unfortunately, I think for not all, but some of the ones that I've encountered and worked with, like it's almost like a vanity job. Like, oh, I got this band to come in and cool, but they didn't really put in the work to make the show. So to me, it's a fail.
I think too, to further to your point is if you're having bands that sort of were, they made their mark, or they were broke through the radio, you might want to get the radio involved, because there may still be fans. It's still a great way to reach people, and have like have a contest or a meet and greet, or something to where the fans, it keeps them engaged, right? They need engagement to keep their attention, or to at least let them know that it's happening, right? Because if there's no engagement, or nothing that they can, kind of like follow along with, well, man, I might win this and might get to meet the band, and then also, like he was saying, the human element. I mean, we had street teams. I don't know if the street teams still happen. I mean, Lisa White, that we had people that would go out there and literally paper the concert in town. Everyone had a flyer walking out of there saying that we were coming in a couple weeks, like you said. So now they kind of try to do that digitally, but there's just so much noise. There's so much other shit. So and then of course, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, whenever you're trying to promote something and you're not paying to promote it on their platform, they limit it. It's like a compressor. They shut it down. Like I just posted about this podcast yesterday on Instagram and asked a question. And I think because I put the word podcast in there, and you can monetize, of course, a podcast. Literally, I would have normally gotten, let's say, 300 likes on the thing, right? I got like 20. And I just feel like, that there's a reason for that. They want you to pay. It's almost like paying for airtime on the radio. They want you to pay for that shit. And anytime they get a sense, or their software gets a sense that you're trying to promote something and make money without them making money on it, then now you're limited. So again, if a promoter is going to promote the show on socials, they have to pay for ads, and not just put it on the page of the venue and expect people to magically show up, right? They got to actually, and I think, again, I don't know, it's one of those things. They also have to know their market. If they have a good following on the socials, and they can send it out there that you're coming and people show up, like the Machine Shop, for instance, in Flint, Michigan. Love that place. Kevin Zink, he knows his people. He knows how to do it. And almost no matter who plays there at this point, it's a sellout show, because, well, first of all, people want to go there and have a good time. They know it's a good thing, but he knows how to get them into the building.
Yeah.
That's important, man. Like,
that's the other thing is, like, it's kind of, you have to kind of compartmentalize it, right? Outside of, the commercial House of Blues, or the arenas and this and that, but you talk about like the Machine Shop or Whiskey or something like that has already got a branded built-in crowd. I mean, I remember watching, I think it was the doc on the Whiskey or something in the Sun, talking about giving Hoobastank their first break out there, which was kind of cool. So from the radio side of things, being there with you guys in Shinedown from the very beginning, I know what made Shinedown Orlando's darling is because of the relationship that we had on the station. I mean, you guys were, calling in randomly to my show. You guys, I mean, it was annoying as hell, by the way. No, I'm just kidding. You guys would, if I asked for a favor, hey, I'm doing this stupid running to the Boobahs event, you guys came out and met people. When my listener called up and told me live on the air that she was dying and had 6 months left to live, which was probably the worst thing that's ever happened to me on the radio. And she was there from the beginning with Shinedown. Brent, we did an Oprah thing a couple weeks later. He comes on, invites her to a show. We escort her in the back of the House of Blues. She's got a mask on, and all that kind of stuff. And he does a special meet and greet, and then she passes away shortly after. The market remembers that, is my point. You know what I mean? So I think that has a lot to do with it too. But that's a full-time job for you guys and radio is not what radio used to be anymore. And you don't have those personalities and those things that we used to do back in those days and those relationships. And on top of that, radio doesn't have time to listen to you guys. You can't come on radio shows outside of a handful in the country and have this kind of conversation. You just can't have it.
Right.
They're going to bring you on, Will, and they're going to be like, all right, it's going to be 30 seconds. And then it's like from that thing you do where, they have the Wonders in there. And they're like, it's the Wonders. Hey guys. All right. Thanks guys. Leave the headphones on the table.
Yep.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think obviously, I think it goes without saying. I mean, the digital age has literally shifted the way everything works in music business. And to your point, Brad, about social media, I oftentimes feel like, as powerful as social media is, I'm not so sure that it understands the music business and how to promote that. And I think music and artists still struggle to figure out how to use it, because I don't know that the algorithm really it understands products, right? It understands Pepsi, Coke, cars, but then there's music and so what is that? Like, it's not tangible. So, and I think that, is the extra, you know, challenge, for music in the digital realm. And to your point, about radio, yeah, I mean, it's everyone's listening, creating their own playlist, so what do they need radio for anymore?
Right. Yeah.
My kid, especially the younger guy, the younger generation, my kids, they're like, "You still listen to the radio, Dad?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, sometimes I do, but I mean, and sometimes I have my my app, whatever, iTunes Music in, but they, like you said, they have their own. They want to control, I guess, every song that they want to hear next, and I'm not like that. I put it on the Brad Stewart radio station. I'm like, surprise me with something that I would have never chosen. And so you skip past it if you're not in the mood for it. But I kind of like that sense of, maybe something's going to come up. I hadn't even thought about that band in a while. And it came up. I'm like, man, I need to go back and listen to that. I like that sort of element of surprise, but I don't know.
Are you talking about radio, like an Apple Music or something that just kind of,
it's like a random station. Yeah, it's choosing my music for me, like a playlist that I never made, but it thinks I'm gonna want to hear, kind of thing. And
right,
I think that's kind of, for me, that's kind of cool. But other people are like, no, this is my workout playlist, and it's the same songs in the same order, and it's whatever.
Right. I like that too. I was talking about terrestrial radio.
Yeah.
Where there's commercials. And you hear the same fucking songs over and over and over and over and over and over. I think people are fatigued with that. But what you're talking about the actual, like, a radio station, like, give me a Saliva or Earshot radio station that plays not only those artists and songs, but similar artists that they think you might like. I dig those same kind of things also.
Yeah, I go to the gym and I'm a big fan of Hollywood Undead. And then when their playlist runs out, you'll get into other like-minded band or like-sounding bands, which is pretty cool. But the problem, 30 years in the radio business and not necessarily in it right now, and don't ever think I'll probably go back, is, the problem is it's being dictated. You have a lot of talented people that still know how to do radio properly, but it's being dictated by people that want to live vicariously through you because they could never do it. And then they're just going off of, numbers and algorithms and research and this and this and this and that. And, radio is an artistic form of expression. And there's no right or wrong way, but they believe that there is. And I've said this, when I took a gig in California, which was the worst mistake of my life. This was about, I guess, 2 years ago down in Sacramento. It was horrible because they didn't want me to be me. And I'm like, well, this is what made me successful in Atlanta and Orlando. I was like, I have to be me, so I would bring in artists like Jacoby lived up to, he's from Sacramento. So Jacoby would come in. They're like, you've got to shorten that up. And I'm like, it was like, dude, did you hear that what he just said? It's because of our relationship. He just said that on the air. Not that I'm trying to get dirt, but that was compelling, right? Yeah. We need to do that in 2 or 3 minutes. Well, I didn't know if he was going to fucking say it. It took him 8 minutes to say it. He's long-winded. Who the fuck knows? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's the problem. It goes back to, Social Network, the movie, where, Zuckerberg, Jesse Eisenberg, he says, we don't know what it is yet. We got to make it cool. Radio's no longer cool. So our kids don't look at radio as being cool. And how do you make it cool again? Is it the bands? Is it the personalities? It sure the fuck isn't the commercials. So I don't know.
It's like the TikTok thing. Now it's not even minutes. It's a few seconds. That. So good luck getting and keeping. I mean, it better be ripping in those few seconds because it comes and goes so fast.
Yeah.
And not only are you competing on TikTok with musical bits and this and that, watching the Yetis on there on TikTok? Are you familiar?
Yeah.
I've seen some links, dude. It's actually quite hilarious. These guys, it's AI obviously, and they do these bits with the Yeti, and he's like, "Man, we just had some booger sugar, man," and it's of course it looks more like an ape than a Yeti. And the thing's got like white stuff all over its face, and he's running through the woods, and he just snorted a whole bag of, or they're like, we just ate some mushrooms out of some goat shit, man. Me and fuckface over here, and it's a white Yeti next to him, and they're fucking running around crazy. It is goddamn hysterical. I'll send you all the links, but we passed that around on the saliva thread quite a bit.
That's what I need this week. Is
so that's your competition though. Besides the music and the videos, you got artificial intelligence Yetis running around those fucking places.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're talking about terrestrial radio and the old music industry model, which were record labels. As much as and I was one of them, that complained about how corporate and unfair record deals were, which they're very skewed,
still are.
Probably even worse,
but way worse. Oh yeah.
The one thing that I think has been lost since labels and radio kind of went away was the fact that what labels were really good at doing was they were really good at going out into the world and finding the best of whatever genre of music you listen to. I'd say 90 to 95% of the time they got it right. So what they were actually doing in digital terms is they were going out and they were curating the playlist for you and saying, hey, we already weeded and waded through all of it, and here it is, right? And we loved most of it. Now it's everybody's on their own to find it and curate it, and that's the challenge. And radio sort of helped with that, but now because people aren't listening to radio, that's another tool that's kind of been taken out of the tool chest also. So I think the trick is how do you bring those components back in to the fray again? And I think fans of music, honestly, whether they realize it or not, I think that they miss having that, because I think it's exhausting for them to find the music that they want to listen to, and even the bands that they want to listen that they've been listening to. It's hard for them to find that even. So I think if there was some way, if the three of us could figure out how to bring that back again, I think that's the magic bullet that's missing for music.
Well, it's very simple. Again, you have to make it cool and relevant. I mean, kids are listening to podcasts, long form. They're willing to stick around and listen to it if they're into it. It's direct content to ear. So I have a 20-year-old daughter. She didn't even realize, she's a smart kid, believe it or not. She didn't even realize that her car could play the radio. All those years I was on the radio, she thought that her mother was listening through an app. And
Mhm.
she didn't understand the tuner aspect of it. And if you remember back to the original iPods, they had a tuner in them that you could listen to AM FM radio, and then they took it out. And that, I believe, was part of the downfall of terrestrial radio when the digital side said, hey, go fuck yourselves, we're going to do this on our own and leave you out of it. If they understand that they can listen to radio and radio gives them what they want, then that's the next question is, what do you give them? There's a radio station in a small market here in Florida, and they take a lot of pride in having this huge playlist, and they're playing all of these songs. Okay, great. Well, do kids even know you exist? One. Yeah. Two, do they come back when you go into commercial? Probably not. I mean, you have 8-9 minutes of commercial with imaging and traffic. Who the fuck wants to sit around when, like, I've got options. I can go to Spotify and say, this without any commercials if I have premium, and I'm willing to pay for it on top of that. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think it's just a matter, like I have a saying that there's always a shot on the pool table, because mathematically speaking, there's always a shot on the pool table, which makes me never say no in life, right? There's a way to do it. There's a way to revive bands. There's a way to make bands successful. There's a way to make music. You just got to find that shot on the pool table. I don't know what it is.
And that comes down to, I think, especially for new artists, artist development's been kind of lost because they're in such a hurry to get a song and get it out there and get the thing ripping that they don't take the time anymore to really figure out who the artist really is or is trying to be. You know what I mean? It's like the time period, the time frame is too short now. And that's why you see, I think personally, that's why you see artists, not necessarily in rock, but they come and go so fast. It's like a flash in the pan, because either there's that, and there's also because there's no one there necessarily that helps them focus their catalog, because they just don't have enough songs in their catalog to focus it. Like you're saying, like even Prince, dude, Prince wrote a lot of songs, right? But he still had someone in there to help figure out which ones floated to the top. They're not all going to be Hotel California, man, or Purple Rain. I was going to say they're not going to be Purple Rain, but at the same time, it's kind of like now, like Will was saying, you have all of that out there from everybody. There is no focus. It's everyone's songs, good or bad, that you have to sift through to figure out which ones are going to speak to you and which ones are actually the best ones, I guess, that, and because no one's choosing that for you, that has an ear for that sort of thing. And that's what I think. And, a lot of those guys that's what they did, and they made their careers doing that. They're not at labels anymore. It's the top guy and some lower bottom feeding, there's no people in there working those artists properly anymore. Because there's no budgets either, I don't think,
With these two new singles, you got the current single, Out of My Hands, both great songs. I mean, they're vintage Earshot, right? Like, so yeah, it's funny, and then you have Where Were You, which is also a great song. I've got to a point, again, I just turned 50, and being in the radio business, and my where I gained a name for myself in the business was in those active rock days, the new rock alternative days in rock radio. So right around when you guys were launching, never realizing that I would be looking back 20 years and hearing just the sound of, say, Earshot or Saliva or Shine Down or whatever, and having a nostalgic moment. So when I heard these two singles, I'm seeing myself in, 2003 is what it was. And I thought that was pretty cool. And I hope you don't think that is disrespectful. I just thought that was a cool feeling. I'm like, so you stay true to the sound, and I'm listening to it. And to be honest with you, I could be seeing Earshot at a venue and not know who the fuck's up on stage, but still hear Out of My Hands or Where Were You, and then probably come up to you afterwards and go, how do I know you? That's how cool that was. So good job on that, by the way. That's the I got.
Well, thank you. And I mean, some of the songs on our new record do sound a little throwback ish, and then there's some tracks on there that are like, oh, it's definitely evolved. So I mean, someone was asking me right after we finished recording it. They say, how would you describe this record? And I said, well, if you took our first record, Letting Go, and you took our second record, Two, and then you sort of just put them in a pot and like just mushed them together, and then brought in some other songwriters with some other input and influences. I mean, it's really um I don't know, it's an interesting hybrid, um to my ear anyway. And I think that what we tried to focus on most with this album was, like I said earlier, was just being true to ourselves, and you know doing what we do best as artists, not trying to do something or be something that we're not, and just staying who we are and staying in our lane and understanding who we are as artists creatively, and letting the songs do the work instead of us trying to fit in to a trend. And one of the biggest compliments that we've gotten is the fact that the sound of our record sounds very organic. We They're all real guitars, and we didn't go too crazy and trying to over beef them up, and we just tried to keep it to what it would sound like if you were sitting in front of us live and we were playing. Like, we try to go for that sound, and so that we could recreate that easily. And that's one of the also the biggest compliments that we've always gotten, is how our live show has really connected with people. And some people have even said that they feel like sometimes our live show sounds better than the album. So, and I credit that compliment to the fact that when we make records, we do create them true to life. Like, how is this really sounding when we play it? And that's kind of you know the lines that we try to color within those lines.
Why, after all these years, new music?
Well, as you said, I've been writing. I never stopped writing music. um I think that when I stepped back, I was just kind of tired of the rigmarole of the music business. And as Brad can tell you, and I'm sure you as well in radio, like, it is one of the most draining businesses, mentally, physically,
Yeah.
spiritually,
Mhm.
financially. I
Mhm.
mean, it's literally a roller coaster. Like, I've gone from, I joke about this all the time. Like, I've gone from rags to riches, back to rags, back to riches, back to rags, like more times than I can count. And that's how this music business is. Like, it is not for the faint of heart. It reminds me of sort of like, when someone comes to LA from somewhere, and they come here bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and they're inspired, and they're gonna go out and be actors or actresses or musicians, and then a year later they're gone, and it's like, well, what happened? They're like,
Mm.
Mhm.
Know a few of those.
and
It's like
yeah, and that's
Axl
how.
Rose getting off the bus on the
Yeah.
yeah.
Right. And that's how the music business is, as you guys well know. Like, this is the business that will literally chew you up and spit you out and not care. And if
Mhm.
you want to come back in, it'll chew you up again and spit you out happily. So, I mean, it's you really have to be a little bit of a glutton for punishment, I think, to be in this business. But I circling back to the question that you asked, I needed a break. I needed to clear my head. I needed to let go of all the ideas and beliefs that I had about the business. Although many of them are probably true, I had to figure out a way to be able to focus again on my love of making music and performing it, instead of focusing on all the other shit. And that's what was happening for me. And I was drinking a lot more. Yeah, I just wasn't in a good place, and I needed to just kind of take a break and reset, and do something else for a minute, that to kind of be reinvigorated again. And I gotta tell you, I mean, we just finished making the record. We're in the process of promoting it. We're also talking to a few labels to see if We're going to put this out on a label, depending on if we can find the right fit. But I tell you, I'm already getting exhausted. Like it's right back in the frying pan. It really hasn't changed much. But again, as Johnny K said, and I love this, what he said to this. Somebody asked him, we were out eating and somebody recognized this and they came up and were talking to us and they said to him, they go, man, how do you, Johnny K, like what advice would you give me as a struggling artist? How do you deal in this business? How do you survive? And he said, you've got to love making music more than you hate the music industry. And I went, wow. And that's exactly fucking right. And that's the place I had to get to. And that's where I got to. So without realizing it, exactly what he said is what took me a while to do.
It's
find my love for it.
It's so interesting to hear people in other, jobs, but very similar, as because I struggle, I'm like, I'm done, but it's still the creative space. But to take what Johnny said to that guy and go, I love being creative and I love putting content out and I love talking to an audience, whether it's this, big bubble, small bubble, whatever. But I want to control it. I don't want anyone else to control it. So, if you take that knowledge and that advice and say, do what you want to do more than what the business is doing. That's like really good. That's
yeah. I mean, listen, I still hate the music business, hate it, but I love making music more. That's where I'm at.
And performing music too. I mean, and we, of course we have our hangups with promoters and properly promoting the show and this and that. But at the end of the day, you get up there and you get to rock. And that's like, man, that's like, it's like no other feeling in the world, especially when you're getting a good response and you're at a festival and there's 55,000 people out there and they're circle pitting and crowd surfing and just the whole shit. I mean, that's the pinnacle. That's what you live, that's what you aim to do, regularly.
Do you want to, so before I go to the questions, so we always end the shows with questions for Brad, but these questions they can be for both of you. Actually, they're kind of universal.
Absolutely.
But before we do that, Wil, tour dates for Earshot 2025, 2026. I know I saw on your website that you have a few already locked down. Are you working on, a bigger tour with another band?
We are. We're we've got a couple things, irons in the fire. Actually, I know we've been talking to our friends Saliva, seeing if we can work something out there. Hopefully we can. That'd be great. And then we've got another thing that we're looking at with potentially with Smile Empty Soul and another band that came out around the same time. I don't know if you remember them. They were called Primer 55. And they're just coming back into the fold too. So there's talk that we might go out and do that also in the fall or early next year. I think next year we're slated to, be on some of the Danny Wimmer festivals and do that circuit. Our agents are supposedly, busy trying to put us out there back to work again. So far they've been doing really good and we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, that's cool. You smirked, Brad. You gave it away with Saliva Earshot.
Nothing's. But I mean, yeah. Last episode I said hopefully our friends will be joining us. So then now it's official. We're at least we're talking about it. Yeah, and some of that stuff is not really. It's got to make sense for everybody. A tour does, or it can be misery, or you know what I mean. Yeah. We love each other, but that doesn't mean the tour. It has to be set up properly, and everyone needs to get what they need to do it and be happy out there. Well,
and you also have to remember it has to be cleared with me too, because I'm bringing the podcast equipment, and we're going to do a world tour of the Vinyl Road podcast at all.
There you go.
So that's what
let's go. Vinyl Road on the road. Yeah. But I mean, it's awesome.
Exactly. And you'll probably do a way better job promoting it than some of the club promoters would.
They might need us, honestly.
Right. Yeah.
They might pay us to promote the fucking show, right?
He's not fucking wrong. That's true.
Yeah, I can deal with the promotion stuff. I'm pretty good at that. That'd be pretty cool. I've always thought, like when I got into podcasting, this about 4 or 5 years ago, I was like, that's what I was going to do. Is be different, because I was angry at radio too. Like one of my hashtags is better than radio when I post stuff. And it just, everything from doing an event and going out there and you see this black tent with a kid on a cell phone and no prizing, it just looks like shit. Like you just don't, people in radio don't realize that you don't do radio. You do customer service. That's what we do.
Yeah.
We're in the customer service business. We are there to super serve each and every person that gives their time to listen to your content. That's all we're there for. Life is easy. People make things difficult. But radio people think they're fucking celebrities, and it drives me insane. Absolutely fucking insane. So these are some of the questions. Remember, for those that are listening, you can always submit at any time. You don't have to wait for us to post, but you can send it to either myself or Brad on social media. The Vinyl Road Podcast is its own Instagram now, so please follow that if you don't, at the Vinyl Road Podcast. I have to separate all of my brands. I'm rebranding things because of this fucking podcast. So I got.
You're welcome. I just gave you more work to do, right?
I had this like 2-hour conversation with this marketing person, and they're like, well, the first thing you got to do is do this, and this, and that. And I'm like, that's a lot for a first thing to do. So we're separating all the bands. The Honey, I Raised the Kids podcast, that's got its own Instagram. The BS, obviously, it's got its own. Listen to the BS. Now the Vinyl Road podcast. Anyway, here's the first question. Marshall, Bradford, and Lou. What is your mindset during the writing process when it comes to being satisfied with the final draft? Our guest, Will, you want to go first on that?
I listen to a song, or in an instance where I actually write the song. I just kind of listen to what sort of comes up, what mood it sort of puts me in when I hear it. And I just kind of go with it from there. And that's why sometimes it could take, 5 minutes for me to write a song, or it could take 5 months for me to write a song, is because there comes points where I'm not sure where it's trying to go. And then I sort of scratch my head and go, well, what? And so sometimes it takes a while to come to the point of being satisfied. Sometimes I'm never satisfied with the song, and those are the ones that obviously never make the record. But I would say that, even the records that we've made, I still listen back, Brad. I'm not sure if this happens for you as well, but there are still times I listen back to our records and go, maybe I should have did that there. But I mean, it's still in the books. But I don't know that you ever hit that point. I once read a quote by Chris Cornell. Was asked a similar question, like, was his mission to be the best singer-songwriter in the world? And his answer, and I'm paraphrasing it, he said, once you have hit that mark of being the best, then you have nowhere to go. So I don't want to be the best. I just want to do the best I can. And that's kind of the philosophy that I find. So as long as it takes to where I feel good enough about it to let it go out into the world, that's good enough for me.
Yeah. Brad, you want to answer that one?
I mean, let's see, mindset, frustration, anger. No, for me, it's I'm more the guy that writes the music, in situations, but I try not to do so as far as with blinders on. But it's hard not to if you're writing for a specific band situation that you're in, because that band, it has a legacy of songs that you can't miss the exit. You got to kind of stay within certain, but that doesn't mean that I don't write other songs stylistically that don't fit into the box that of whatever band I'm in. So I guess I just kind of, it either starts with the bass or like with the guitar. And for me, it's about, once I have like a starting point, I try to figure out where I could take, and sometimes it's not even a conscious thing. Well, I have to go to this chord or to this, for the chorus or this or that. Sometimes it just comes out and I get lucky, or maybe it just that's where it's supposed to go. But for me, it's not quite every song to me has happened differently. I should say, I guess,
Yeah.
it's not like I have this thing where, well, first I'm going to put my bass on and put this plug in and it's going to sound this way. And once it sounds this way, then I'm going to start from here and go from A to Z with it. It kind of just happens as it happens. And sometimes it changes. And, sometimes when you're in there and with the producer or whoever, and they start bastardizing your song around, you get a little pissed. It's like Will was saying, at the end of it, you're like, man, I still liked it the way I fucking had it, and like, why did they fucking have to change it? I get a little upset because I'm like, anyway, that's a whole nother conversation, but it can be weird. I mean, even with Control, that was a completely, I had already recorded that song. So Puddle of Mud's Control, and with that riff, but my verses were different and I had a different like middle 8 section, whatever. But when Wes took it, he took his notebook out and just started flipping through his pages. Control was already written. The lyrics were already written for that song. And we basically took my riff and it was like it was the intro and then it quieted down. That was the verse. And then the chorus was the same riff, just loud, and then there was the middle section and that was it. But I think in that case, I was happy with the way it turned out because it turned out way better than the way I fucking had it. So I was stoked. I mean, so it's all over the place. Like songs are, and the way they happen, I don't know if it's always. Sometimes it's serendipitous, I guess you could say. It sort of just happens out of, and maybe it's the way it's supposed to happen, and you hope that it is.
Yeah. Only one question this week, so I'm going to save them because I got to go to the doctor. I got a little thing going on, so I got to get fixed. Where were you? And then Out of My Hands, new Earshot. You can get that on all digital platforms, of course. Look for an upcoming tour from the band. Wil Martin, thanks, brother. Nice meeting you. I know you and Brad go way back, but it's nice meeting you or nice seeing you again. Or I know it was like 2002, 2003, but it's been a minute. So it was great to talk to you. I'm so happy that you guys have got new music.
Thanks
Likewise,
for coming on, bro.
Hey,
dude,
thanks for having me. Good to see you again, Brad. Always good to talk with you, man. Always good catching up with you, and always a laugh. Always.
Love you, man. I know we got so much we could still talk about too, man.
Oh,
so
man.
you got to come back, dude. I mean, this is tip of the iceberg shit. After 22, 3 years of knowing you, man.
There's so many stories we didn't cover. But another time.
Yeah, another time you'll come back, or when the Vinyl Road podcast goes out on the road and Earshot and Saliva are touring, then we'll just do it there and somewhere in America.
There you go.
That's what I'm talking about.
Talk to you soon,
All
brother.
right, guys. You too, man.
All right, see ya.
Cheers.
That's great. What a great dude, man. He was awesome.
Dude, he's awesome, man. Yeah, it's interesting. I think anyone like that has that much history in the business is going to have a cool perspective that's interesting that people are going to listen to, right? I mean, and whether it's the singer of the band or whoever, like I was going to run this by you too, my buddy Chad Martell, which I hadn't hit him up yet, but he's a photographer. Look up Chad Martell Photography, and he photographs for Monster. He does everything from concert to beautiful women in bikinis to like some partial nude stuff. And then he does, motorcycles, extreme sports and shit, but he lives in Jacksonville. I think it's for this, it's obviously we tie rock and roll into it because he shoots rock and roll bands and shoots bands, but like, it's about having interesting people,
So with podcasting, don't overthink it.
Yeah.
It's just don't overthink it at all.
So you think it just having rock people in it?
No,
not those folks, or just in general? You're agreeing with me. Okay.
Yeah, you can have anybody you want on. You can have your garbage man if you want. I mean, like, as long as somebody's got stories, that's that's all you need is people with stories. So
absolutely.
Well, the big guest at some point in time will be like if Brent or Barry comes on. I mean, that obviously would be the big guest. And
I know they will. He's going to have me on his show, that Booze, Brews, and Barbecue thing coming up. I think he said in the next couple months I think they're going to do St. Augustine.
Oh,
and he was like, man, you should come on that one. He's like, actually, we may do Panama City or something on the west coast of Florida. Maybe come on that one too. And I was like, fuck yeah, dude. Like, I mean, and I know he'd come on here. I literally just booked because Mary and the boys and I are going up to New York for their Madison Square Garden show.
Oh yeah.
So we're going up there the 19th of this month. So I'll be seeing those guys.
That you go on, make sure you tell people to listen to the Vinyl Road podcast.
That's what I need, the shirt, man. I need
It's coming. It's coming. Also remember, BS Podcast 10 is your checkout code for Once Upon a Coconut, onceuponacoconut.com. Best coconut water in the world. We talk about it all the time. We love it. Pick your flavor, but if you want a discount, use BS Podcast 10. If you want to be a sponsor, we have great sponsors as is. If you'd like to be a sponsor, reach out to me. jasonbailey.com. All of our socials. Give us a like, share, follow. And please spread the word for all the shows, whether it's Honey or the BS or the Vinyl Road podcast. Just let people know that it exists and that they should listen. All right, brother, man, you got anything before we get out?
I'm just super grateful, man. Just want to say thank you to everyone that listens and that
Cool.
that likes what we're doing, man. God bless y'all.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Thank you for the support. Thanks for listening. Keep in touch. We'll talk soon. Hey, bye.
We should do a podcast about rock and roll. I got some stories.
That's it for this episode. Check out jasonbailey.com for more shows. Until next time.
Nah, he didn't take it off. Shit. Bah.
Man, I didn't know we were still saying